Yep. So, welcome back to Storytelling on the Plains. Connor, I accidentally wrote a two-parter for you this week.
Whoops.
Oh, yeah.
My mic's down. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I didn't mean to. I didn't think the story would be that long, but I started reading and reading and reading, and you know how it goes. This has to go in, this has to go in, this has to go in. So I wanna thank Nina down at Legacy of the Plains. I was down there doing some research for some other stuff, and she asked me if I had heard about this person, and I said no, and she told me all about him. I said, okay, he's not quite in our area, but he kind of is. Let me go home and check some stuff, and he's enough in our area that he became a story because he's also awesome. So for most of our stories, we try to stick to something that's in the Nebraska Panhandle all the time. So like maybe this person was in Alliance and went to Scottsbluff and then Chadron. You're still all in the Panhandle. But because we're going back in time to the 1870s, this area kind of technically that he hung out in was part of Nebraska. You know, the way Nebraska was originally shaped, and then that long bit got shortened.
Sure.
And it became Wyoming. But he was in Nebraska long enough, and it's a very cool story. So, you know.
Is it long enough?
Yeah. So here I am with my trauma response explaining and justifying it. When it's our podcast, we can write about whatever we want. So occasionally we do a story like this one, which he technically comes in and out of our area over time, but it's a cool story, and we're going to tell it to you anyway. So today we're going to be talking about Lame Johnny, his life, and his lost treasure. And
you tell an interesting story about Lame Johnny. It's going to be interesting, folks.
And I don't mean anything negative by his name. You'll find out later it's because he walked funny.
That's worse.
It's even
I just
worse.
Thought he was just plain.
No,
I didn't think that was much of an insult. Just being
it was
plain. No,
it was, and we'll get to how that happened. And I debated, how do I deal with that, because we wouldn't use that today. But
yeah,
he was technically lame. So I'm just going to use it and just. No, that's what his name actually was. I'm not trying to be like discriminatory toward him. You can
say one-legged Johnny if it makes you feel.
No, he's got both legs, and he was stupid and got shot in the leg, and so, had a limp the rest of his life. So people called him Lame Johnny. That's how he got his nickname. And I went back and forth. Do I use it? Do I not use it? But I'm going to use it because that's what his name was, and that's what he's known as if you go and try and look him up. So let's get started now that I've rambled on about that. So I need to mention with legends like Lame Johnny, there's going to be multiple stories about them. Some of them disagree, some of them contradict each other, so I'll do my best to reconcile what I can as I go and let you know, as I usually do, when I come up with discrepancies. Again, we're looking at stuff from the late 1800s. You're not going to have 100% accurate stuff. He's kind of a legend now, so you know how stories about legends go, and they get kind of twisted and turned over time. So I tried to get as much of the true story as I could. So Lame Johnny was born Cornelius Donahue sometime around 1850 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He was an educated man, having studied at Girard College. And this wasn't a college like we think of in America today. Girard was a school that took in impoverished and orphaned boys from elementary age through high school. They sort of have something like that in England, where my husband's from. Like, you're done with high school at 16, and then you usually go to college for a couple of years before you go to university.
Yeah, more like a trade school or a skills and trade kind of thing, or maybe
completely separate. Yeah, it's like a preparatory for university. And if you go back even farther, basically it was elementary and high school.
I'm still amazed that we we called this guy Lame Johnny when he had an awesome name like Cornelius.
I know.
Well, you know, whatever, Lame Johnny.
Yeah, Cornelius is so much better.
That's what I named my pigeon.
Oh, really?
My pigeon's name's Cornelius.
That's an awesome name.
For those who don't know, I have a pet pigeon.
Yeah.
My name Cornelius.
Yeah.
Now he might not have the last name Donahue because that's way better than Lame Johnny.
Yeah. He should have kept his name. So according to the Black Hills Visitor magazine article titled "The Search for Lame Johnny's Lost Treasure," which we're going to get to his treasure here in a little while. It's a two-parter, so it's going to be a while. His school records reveal that his birth date was October 6th, 1854, and that he attended Girard College from January 21st, 1862 to October 6th, 1872. So if his birth date is correct, he would have been a student there from ages 8 to 18. And I didn't write it down, but I got his the October date from someplace else as well. So I had two sources for when he left. So I found the book Empty Saddles, Forgotten Names, Outlaws of the Black Hills in Wyoming by Doug Engebretson to be pretty well researched with information on Johnny. And I'm going to quote from that quite a bit, mainly because a lot of other places that I found information were backed up by Engebretson's book, and he had extensive notes of where he got all of his information. So I'm trusting that he had done his due diligence to find the information rather than a website where I found information. So in 1871, his last full academic year at Girard, Cornelius Donahue was named the school's highest class of honor, the third class of honor. To be eligible for the distinction, the student's conduct, rated from 0 to 10, could be no lower than 9.7 for the year. In 1871, Cornelius Donahue's conduct was rated 9.81, and he scored 9.27 academically. So it's pretty smart, pretty good student.
Yeah, smart to me.
And remember, Girard College is for impoverished and orphan boys who normally wouldn't be getting any schooling. So he was provided an opportunity to go to school, and he seemed to excel at it.
It's getting a really lame name.
Yeah, I know.
So this gets me. It could be Dr. Cornelius Donahue. It could be Dr. Donahue. That sounds like a movie already.
Yeah.
It sounds like William Shatner should already been starred in. Like, nope.
So many of the abilities his friend Pierce found in Lame Johnny can be attributed to the curriculum at Girard. The 1872 annual report there reveals that classes were given in French, Spanish, natural history, general physics, mathematics, which included surveying, and graphics, which included bookkeeping. And he's going to put those to use later on in his life. Music was not listed, but was no doubt given, perhaps not thought of as a class per se. Records also show that Cornelius Donahue left Girard on October 6, 1872, that being the day he reached 18 years of age.
And that's true for my school as well, by the way. When in Lake Alice, music wasn't considered a curriculum. It was just something you did.
Okay.
It wasn't like a class. It wasn't on a report card, like you didn't get a D in music.
Oh, see.
I didn't know if that was the thing in middle schools. I think it was because it was, but no, in the way which I grew up, I was from 3rd grade to 8th, which was right before high school. And yeah, during that time, we didn't have a music class. We didn't have a music grade.
Okay, we had a music class. You were required to take K through 8. And then once you hit high school, you had the option of what you wanted to take. You would get graded, because I was in wind ensemble.
And you had to take music classes here too, as well. I mean,
but you didn't get
choice.
graded.
It was compulsory. You had to go to music school, class, whatever.
Yeah.
But we sung. We did stupid little music plays. Most of our music classes were leading up to music plays. We didn't do instruments. We didn't have the funds for instruments or the teaching of musical instruments. So yeah, no, it was like really was something you would imagine in second grade and then just continued up until 8th grade. Because, we didn't have anything like that.
Okay. We had, we didn't get graded for band, but we did for choir. And choir was required. K through 6th, and then in 7th grade you had to pick band or choir, and I was already in band, so I stayed in band. But you got graded for it. And
in high school, when I got to high school, I would have, but it wasn't compulsory to take music in high school for me, and I didn't.
Yeah, for me in high school, it wasn't required anymore, but if you did take it, you got a grade for it.
Yeah. It was considered a part of your, because you had to have, the credits.
Yeah.
Credits,
And in my school, you had to have a 4-year sequence in something. It could have been language, metal shop, wood shop, choir, band.
I think I had something similar. I think mine was actually language, even though I can't speak Spanish till we're shit. Well, it was Spanish.
That's the thing. If you don't use it, you absolutely lose it. I did really well in French, and I took it all the way up through college. I mean, I wasn't fluent, but I could speak like a 5-year-old, and that's enough to get around when you're traveling. But then I didn't use it. The last time I needed my French was in 1999 when I was in France, and I haven't used it since then. And I
still think it's pretty funny when you add IE to the end of my name. I caught my mom with that. She thought it was hilarious.
And mine is the same way, except for there's an accent over the first E, and it's pronounced Irene. And I can't roll my R's. I never could roll my R's.
It's still Irene.
Yeah.
That's not what Connor is with I. Connery is not Connor in French.
Yeah. Sometimes the teachers made up names because they're like, there's no French equivalent.
I think that French teacher would have done that to me. Oh, Connery, and just would have waited for me to look it up. Like, you mother. How do you say motherfucker in French?
I used to know that, and I don't remember anymore. I actually saw Beverly Hills Cop in a theater in France, and they had it ran in English with French subtitles, and I had a little notepad. I was writing down all the cuss words. And you know what, guys? I was 14. Get off my back. But back to Lame Johnny. He was pretty smart. He went to school, he did well, and he graduated. It's unclear if he completely finished his education there, because several articles note that he ran away to Texas to become a cowboy, but the way that they write it, it's like he finished school, so he graduated, and then he just was like, screw it, I'm going to Texas. He wanted to become a cowboy, and
lame.
Yeah, there you go. And in
just South Park carpet, lame. Lame.
And 1872, where are you going to go be a cowboy? Texas, I guess. That's where he went. I'm guessing he finished because he was there for 10 years. So, there was a benefit to him being there. He probably got fed well, had a good jump start on life despite how his life ended up, which you'll have to stay till the end of part 2 to find out. Please do not go to the internet and Google him. So it was in Texas where he learned how to steal horses from the Native Americans. I have seen articles that say it was the Comanche, the Arapaho, a couple of different tribes. So unless I could...
It was plenty of white folk, too.
Yeah.
Let's be serious. Everyone was stealing horses from everywhere.
Yes, it was. And there's an incident later on where he spent a summer doing that. But I do mention Comanche later on because Engebretsen's book uses Comanches. The Arapaho and other Indians that I found were all on websites where I was like, well, where did you get that from? At least this guy was like, here's my sources that I'm citing.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I'm going to read from his book again. So this guy Pierce that I'm quoting was a friend and a minister, but he was a friend of Lame Johnny's. So I forget his first name because It's a two-parter, Connor, and I cut and pasted and moved things around and forgot to do this most important part of what his first name was when we get to him. But he was a friend of Johnny's, and he talked about Johnny later on and was interviewed. So Pierce became a confidant of the hard-to-get-acquainted-with young man who possessed a retiring disposition, and Lame Johnny told him, after leaving school, drifted to Texas, where I engaged myself to a rich old cattleman who agreed to give me a share in the increase of stock for my service. I worked hard and was doing nicely and had earned about 700 head of my own brand when one moonlit night the Comanche Indians made a raid up to our way and drove off all my stock. And this was common in the 1870s. I'm not surprised by that. That discouraged me. I went over to see old Castile chief of the Tongaway Indians and made medicine with him in regard to going down and visiting the Comanches. He listened until I was through talking, studied for a few minutes, and then arose and said, "My people are few in numbers, but they are brave. We will go with you, but our tribe raids on. Our tribe raids on dark nights. Wait until the moon changes and then come." The first dark night I struck out, the Indians going along. We made a pretty good haul, 60 head of horses, which I disposed of and divided the proceeds with the Indians. And again, I apologize for stumbling over the words. It's written slightly differently. You know, his quotes are coming from the late 1800s, so they're writing English slightly different than we do today. So even though I did this, proofread it, went over it, when you actually read it out loud, your brain is trying to skip ahead. And it's not going where you would go today in 2026, because that's not how they wrote back then. So I apologize for skipping. So that trip gave me a taste of adventure, and I had been working ever since to get even for the loss of my cattle. Still, he didn't remain in Texas. Johnny had told confidence that he left of his own accord. However, the Chicago Times correspondent at Fort Robinson and the Black Hills Journal noted he was driven out after committing several murders. So I guess he left of his own accord. He killed some people and was like, I need to get out of town. So during the last murder, he was shot in the leg and was crippled, thus the new moniker Lame Johnny. So that's how he got his name of Lame Johnny. And if he really was a murderer, good. You probably should have went to jail for it, but, good. You limp the rest of your life. So Johnny told his friend Doc Pierce, he wasn't a minister, he was a doctor. Anyway, so he told his friend Doc Pierce, and the Black Hills Trails agrees that he fell off a horse, which caused his injury, but he went to the cobbler to get his new shoes in the Black Hills, and his shoes were sizes 6 and 4. A 3-year-old gunshot wouldn't cause that, so we don't really know what the real story is. The Black Hills Trails organization and his friend Doc Pierce thinks that it was really he fell off a horse, and that's how he got the injury and was called Lame Johnny.
He had the lamest name in Nebraska.
Yeah. But then there's the story that he was a murderer and got shot. Who knows?
That would have been a cooler story, I guess.
Yeah.
If you're back then, I'm an outlaw.
Yep.
You're not going to mess with me.
And
I wasn't drunk and fell off my horse. You can't prove that.
Yeah. And his shoe sizes were 6 and 4. So to me, that just...
I got my toes chopped off because I was drunk.
Yeah, who knows? So after Texas, he drifted up to Kansas before heading to the Black Hills in 1876. So he came right up through here on his way up to the Black Hills to prospect for gold along Castle Creek. And for our listeners who don't know, the Black Hills are in present-day South Dakota, just north over the border from Nebraska. Today it's just north. It would take a little bit longer back then because you're either walking or on horseback, maybe stagecoach.
And the Black Hills were smaller. A lot of people don't remember that. The Black Hills were smaller. From the direction they were coming, it might not look like that coming up from the north, but ultimately from the east and the west side, much, much smaller.
Yeah. Yeah. So at some point in time, a band of Lakota stole his horses. So he gets up here, establishes himself, and things are going okay. And then, the Lakota come and steal his horses. And the Lakota were known for doing that. They would do it to other tribes. They would do it to anybody who had horses and they wanted some horses.
Clear, and it was not just the Lakota.
No.
It was frickin' everybody.
Yep.
Anybody who had an opportunity, horses were basically like the Lamborghinis that you didn't need keys for.
Yep.
And all you had to know how to do is untie a knot.
Yep. And off you went with the horses.
And you're never going to see that horse again.
So, and everybody did it to everybody else. It's not limited to Lakota.
It's definitely not like, yes, a band of Lakota might have stolen these horses, but this wasn't something like, I really don't like it when people say, "Oh, the natives or the Mexicans or this or that stole these things." Like, no,
it was everybody.
Everybody who had the opportunity would steal a horse. Yep. I would have probably stole a horse if I didn't have a horse and I needed a horse.
Yep.
Because it's how you could get away from something faster than your feet.
Yep. So it was not uncommon at this point in time. And I was thinking about how this sort of still happens today to cattle. Not a lot. But I have spoken to some big-time cattle ranchers out here in western Nebraska.
Oh, yeah.
They don't, it still happens, and they don't tell people when they're going on vacation anywhere other than the person that's in charge of looking after their cattle while they're gone. Because if anybody gets whiff that they're gone, their cattle will not be there when they come back. So it does still happen, just not in the frequency it used to.
From the ranchers I know, it happens not even more from the cattle, just out of family, old feuds, and just effing with people. I got your so-and-so kind of ha-ha thing. It really, I don't think it's taken a great seriousness just because of how much a cattle costs. If you get caught with it, it's very, very serious. So nowadays, I think it's more out of good fun, at least in this part of the world.
Yeah.
I've heard of it happening and people getting away with it more because, cows all look alike. All the cows here are Black Angus for the most part, with few exception. And because they're all the same species, all you really have to go by is your brands. And a brand on a cow, because the fur grows back and grows wide and over, we see them. Some farmers don't believe in tagging ears. Tagging ears is the best way. But even ear tags, you can pop them out, put a new one in. So there's all sorts of kind of shady things you can do. But that being said, a lot of the properties where these cows are kept are wide and vast. So it'd be kind of hard to sneak them out and in. Without,
it's much more difficult today. Yeah.
Like when you think of cattle rustling back in the day, you had large populations of cows very close to each other. So if 10 went across the street, which is what you hear today, is two large cattle operations, and 10 go across the street. I don't know what it is, like whatever. You're gonna check the brands, and you tag them. No, they're too young, or I have an excuse, or whatever. And that's kind of stuff.
And the folks, in all fairness, the folks that I spoke to were in their early to late 70s, about 10 years ago when I had spoken to them,
so
and it was something. They were like, back in the day, this happened more often. So today, when I go on vacation, I'm not telling anybody. Because they're holding that over.
Old grudges. Even ear tags nowadays have GPS locators. I mean, if you really want to get fancy, these cow people get fancy if they want to. And they have the money to do it.
Yep. So if you go back to Lame Johnny's time as well, I think he was on his own. And he has to sleep at some point. He can't watch his horses 24/7. He's got to go to sleep at some point, and someone's going to steal his horses. It happened. It happened to everybody. It was just kind of part of life. I mean, I would be sad because I'd be attached to my horse. If someone stole it, I'd be like, oh no, they stole horsey, or whatever I named it. And
if you're by yourself, you're not a very good cowboy at this point. If you're letting yourself, your only mode of transportation, sneak off on you, and you didn't have the wherewithal to, I don't know, tie the bridle or anything to you.
Yeah.
So if the horse moved, you moved. I don't know, bells, pots and pans. I don't know anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
But if you're drunk, if you're a cowboy, the way that I've been told cowboys are like, root and toot and shoot and drink too much and just black out. Cowboy, you're not going to hear your horses get stolen.
And if you're a really good horse thief, you're not going to let anybody know you're there, and you're going to take off with the horses before anybody knows.
I could just think, maybe I'm too 2026 with this, but I can think of at least 500,000 between Macaulay Culkin's and Home Alone and Dennis the Menace ways of keeping that horse put without me knowing what, I could, and even back then, I don't know.
And I don't know how many horses he had. Maybe he only had 5, so it was easy to swipe them. I don't know. But anyway, his horse, in this case, a band of Lakota stole his horses. And I'm going to read again from the Black Hills Visitor magazine article. Already an experienced horse thief, he rode down to the Red Cloud Agency, murdered the guard, and stampeded 300 horses toward the Black Hills. After a summer of him and the tribes stealing each other's horses, he quit trying to succeed at prospecting, and Johnny took jobs as a deputy of Custer County and later as a bookkeeper for the Homestake Mining Company. So he spent all summer going back and forth. I'm stealing your horses, they're stealing them back. I'm stealing your horses, we're stealing them back. And finally he was like, hey, I'm tired of this crap. So he went and he got a proper job as a deputy sheriff. And so he was a cop for a while. And then he moved on to being a bookkeeper at the Homestake Mining Company. And if you remember when he was in school, he took bookkeeping classes, so he knows how to do that. And he was really good at it. He lost that job at the Homestake Mining Company after a man from Texas recognized Johnny as a horse thief who left Texas to evade the law. So if this guy from Texas had never come, I wouldn't have any more story after this. But that guy did come, so thankfully I have a whole bunch more. So Engebretson also wrote about this incident. Johnny's office in the woods, from which he dealt in horses, was lucrative, but he grew tired of the stock business and was hired as a bookkeeper for Homestake. His employment lasted until an acquaintance, for whatever reason, addressed him as a horse thief from Texas. And I would imagine if you're a bookkeeper for a company that needs to be on the up and up, and someone comes in and, that's that horse thief from Texas, you're not keeping your job very much longer. and there's no labor laws.
It's so interesting how this isn't the first story of this kind of thing happening, but it is really remarkable, like how people were just like, yeah, that's him from the drawing, and drawings aren't anywhere good enough nowadays.
Yeah.
To a degree, I shouldn't say completely useless. After all, I think we got Luigi Mangione.
Yeah.
I think we got him off of a sketch. So I'm not saying it's completely useless sketches, but man, when I look at people how they dress with their beards and everything, it's like, how the hell do you know like one Joe from one schmo?
Yeah.
Like really?
Yeah.
Like they all to me look exactly the same. Like,
and this,
how do you know?
Yeah. And this random guy just comes up from Texas and is like, and happens to come across Johnny and is like, "Oh, hey, you're that horse thief."
Yeah, I know you. Yeah. We met that one time. We did that one job in Chicago.
Yeah, and
that's you.
And I mean, I know that they did cattle moving from Texas up north, to as far as up Montana, Canada.
And don't get me wrong. When I get a face in my memory, I get a face. Yeah. So maybe that's what it was. But yeah,
it's there's a lot of coincidences sometimes. So. I guess thank you, guy from Texas, because I got a whole awesome story still to come because of this. Otherwise, he probably would have been a bookkeeper and would have been like, this sucks being out in the woods all the time,
I wish I was back to stealing horses.
Yeah.
God, this bookkeeping job sucks.
Yeah. So Lame Johnny had said that a man who I offended by refusing to sell him my Indian ponies, he to keep all over $6 a piece. I was getting as high as $120 a pair, so I refused his generous offer. He remarked at the time he would get even with me. Lame Johnny concluded, I guess he did. And they're also quoting Lame Johnny as he spoke. So again, they don't speak English like we do today, and he's dropping words that should be in the sentence. But basically, dude wanted to buy some ponies from Lame Johnny, and that dude said, I'll give you $6 each. And he's like, I get 120 for 2. No. And so the guy got mad at him and said, I'm going to get even with you. And this is how he got even with him. You know, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Lame Johnny also said he was, you know, he got his bummed up leg because he was a murderer and he fleeing town and got shot. I don't know. Who knows? Half those stories are made up just to make you look better, you know?
Well, but the one that's getting him caught either was the lie that he was a horse thief or that he really was a horse thief. I don't think either way he's off to a good start. No.
So now with no job, instead of looking for a new one, Johnny returned to what he knew best.
Horse thief.
He not only stole horses, he started cattle rustling too. And if you want to read the details of what he did, I highly suggest reading his story in Engebretsen's book. It's only about 10 pages long, though the entire book is really good because it covers a whole bunch of forgotten people out in the West. And I don't want to spend my whole podcast episodes just reading this guy's book. Go find his book, read it. It's worth it. And I just pulled out the juicier bits so that hopefully you'll go read it. But he does go into detail about Johnny's going-ons with the horses and the cattle.
Horseshoes and Cow Shit by Lame Johnny. Please read.
So I also want to mention something about Doc Pierce and what Pierce said about Johnny, and Engebretsen quoted it in his book. Hopefully you followed that. Lame Johnny was a civil and topographical engineer, a #1 bookkeeper, pretty fair in music, and was a splendid judge of a horse, to which he added, no matter who owned it.
No matter who owned it. Which happens to be me at the time.
Jesse Brown, who was also another law enforcement figure in this story and at the time, also said Johnny proved to be a very efficient officer of the law, but Johnny couldn't seem to keep jobs for too long. That was the thing. It was like, oh, he's got another job. He's got another job. Oh, you're not doing that job anymore, Johnny? What are you doing now? You know, so
Lame Johnny. We should have called you One Job Johnny.
So I'm not surprised that he went back to horse thieving and took up cattle rustling. And then he became a highwayman and began holding up stagecoaches. So, you know, he's not going the legal way. He's
for those who don't know what a highwayman is, because it's a robber.
Yeah, you rob people on stagecoach lines.
Think of Robin Hood. He was actually more or less a highwayman. You know, waylaying coaches and stealing from them.
Yep. Or if you were walking on those trails or on a horse, they're still going to stop and rob you. So Johnny's main thing, though, was horse thieving and cattle rustling. He did rob stagecoaches, but that wasn't his main income. And I need to make the distinction for where we're going with the story, but he's still a crook.
This sounds like History of the World with B. Arthur going. It's not your main job. Did you try to rob a stagecoach last week? Did you try? Yeah. Okay, if you don't do it next time, you're half unemployment. We're not going to be able to house anymore.
So keep in mind the cattle and the horses were his main thing, but we're going to concentrate on one particular robbery because it is so dang big. Wikipedia lists the take of this stagecoach robbery as $3,500 in currency, $500 in diamonds, hundreds of dollars worth of jewelry, and 700 pounds of gold dust, nuggets, and bullion from a special treasure coach called the Monitor, belonging to the Homestake Mine on September 26, 1878 at Canyon Creek Station. That's right where Johnny is at. That's where he's doing his horse thieving, and he worked for the Homestake Mine till he got fired.
So he knew the routes. Probably.
So yeah,
or at least knew something about this route.
Yeah. So for reference, I did go look that up. In $26, $3,500 in currency is $117,293.05. $500 in diamonds is $16,756.15. And the gold dust, nuggets, and bullions was a little bit more difficult to calculate, but if I did it right, 700 pounds is roughly $42,623,632 today. I used several currency converters, and they had up to the second conversions for gold, and it was funny because I'm sitting there looking at the website and I'm watching, the numbers change every second. Well,
and even the diamonds, is that too?
The diamonds
nowadays, lab diamonds that have saturated value of diamonds. I don't know.
Well, the diamonds, I just looked up straight dollar amounts. Like $500 then is worth this much now. But I figured for the gold is weighed in ounces, so I had to calculate to pounds and blah, blah, blah. And so I think I got it right. And I had 42.6 million because the lower numbers changed a little bit. So I think 42.6 million is a good estimate of the gold and the bullions that were stolen.
It's a lot of frickin' money, guys.
Yeah. And in total, it's just under $43 million. So,
like Lame Johnny could have been Johnny Depp, like in this era.
Yeah. It could have taken on that pirate persona and stealing money.
About the money that he must have.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about the money.
Okay. So the Monitor stagecoach that they robbed was known as an ironclad fortress on wheels. According to the now defunct Rosin website, the coach was an ironclad port-holed fort on wheels that never carried passengers or other freight. It was operated by the Cheyenne and Black Hills stage line, commonly known as the Deadwood Stage, which was owned and operated by two men known at the time as the Stagecoach Kings, Gilmer and Salisbury. According to accounts at the time, 5 gunmen took over the stage stop and waited for the coach to arrive. Once the stage arrived, a gunfight erupted, and one of the guards was seriously wounded by a high-caliber rifle bullet. Another guard inside the coach was wounded, and a third killed when he tried to run off. You know what, dude? If he got off the stagecoach and he runs away, don't kill him. Don't kill him. Just let him go. But I get it. You're robbers. You just robbed $43 million. You probably don't want anybody to identify him.
Witness,
yeah, but I wouldn't kill him. See, I'd go to jail because I couldn't kill him.
I'm more disappointed on these so-called, people are supposed to guard this shit.
Yeah, they're not doing a good job. Yeah. And the Monitor was supposed to be, a fortress on wheels.
Yeah, this is supposed to be like a high-tech operation here.
Well, wait till you hear how they got away with it. Got away with the loot. The gold ingots were loaded onto a 2-wheeled wagon, and the track set off to the east through the Black Hills, following various canyons and stream beds. So they steal all this stuff, and they basically put it in a little 2-wheel wagon and drag it away. There's a trail. And anyway, they got it all. They went off with it. So naturally, the Homestake mine is ticked off. They offer a generous reward for the recovery of their goods and the capture of those responsible. There were several posses on the lookout for the group. I can't imagine it's easy to hide such a take in 1878. I mean, think about it today. If you steal $42.6 million in gold bullion, where do you hide that?
Well, I would agree, except it's in the Black Hills, and since I grew up there, the Black Hills is an interesting place. There's a lot of canyons, There's a lot of hidey holes, there's a lot of caves, and so I could believe you could stay for a bit.
Okay.
You could hide if you're smart, and if you stayed away from certain areas, I think you could get away with it. It really depends on where in the Black Hills exactly they were, because if you were near more like Needles Canyon, or more near what's now the Custer State Park area, absolutely, you could hide in there forever. But if you're out a little bit north, there's kind of a bit of I would say like an area of just several hills where you don't have as much caves and you don't have as much rocks, and then it goes back into rocks as you go back up north, and it really all depends on where you are.
Okay.
It really does. But you could absolutely hide there. I believe that, because it's just, even if it was smaller, which it was, the forest area was much smaller back then than it is now, thanks to the National Forest Service. But because at the same time, the rocks were all the same, and the canyons were all the same. There's a lot of
Okay.
And there's also old mines, because even back then there was mining. So who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay. And that's
it really is 700 pounds worth of gold that you're trying to lug around, that I'm really curious about. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think maybe 150 at the most, if I was a good strong backed person. And you're going through the hills, so you're going up easily steep like grades. Almost 45 degrees up and down. So I don't know how you're going to do the gold. The gold thing was interesting to me.
Yeah. And they just said,
unless the 700 pounds was exaggerated, which I can't imagine it was, because this seems like an official report.
Yeah.
So.
And the only thing that I found was that they were loaded onto a 2-wheel wagon, and they headed off east through the Black Hills.
Okay, so that gives us direction. So if you're going to the east,
and following various canyons and stream beds.
So I'd almost imagine you are in the Custer State Park area, because that's about as far east as you can go before there is no more Black Hills.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like pretty much the very tail end of it. So yeah, who knows?
I wasn't there. Glad I wasn't, because they shot everybody that was there. So as a result, within 6 weeks, the stage line let it be known that 60% of the loot had been recovered, but the wagon and 2 big ingots were still missing. I also don't know how much each of the big ingots weighed, but it was probably still a lot of money. And if you haven't found the wagon, they filled the wagon with the gold, so they don't know where the wagon is or some of the gold still. So back in Johnny's life, at about the same time that the Homestake mine said, hey, we recovered 60% of this stuff, Johnny's busy on the Pine Ridge Reservation stealing horses. But someone recognized him because of his limp.
Yeah.
So while he was never identified, so that's why I've been hesitant to say Johnny did this. He's never been identified as one of the 5 who robbed the Monitor. He was certainly wanted for other crimes of horse theft, cattle rustling, and other stagecoach robberies. So this particular one, it was never proven 100% that he was involved in it, and we're not sure. So Laramie County Deputy Sheriff Frank Whispering Smith apprehended Johnny and took him to Chadron, Nebraska, in preparation for him to be transported to Deadwood, South Dakota, to face trial for this massive theft. So for whatever reason, they think he was involved in this one. Engebretsen's book, I really hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. He goes into detail about the trial that eventually happened, and we'll get to that later. But according to his book, Lame Johnny was arrested at Fort Robinson, not at the reservation. And I guess if you don't fully know the area, Red Cloud Agency got moved.
What is Pine Ridge?
Yeah.
I mean, the Pine Ridge Reservation, or are we talking about the town of Pine Ridge?
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
And, some of the articles I read said the Pine Ridge Reservation, but a lot of people don't realize the Red Cloud Agency was at Fort Robb, and when it got moved to South Dakota, it was still Red Cloud, and it eventually became Pine Ridge. And so I could see where they could easily mistake the two.
Yeah, and even Pine Ridge from Fort Robinson wasn't very far.
No. So I could see where somebody mixed that up, but I wanted to put both of those out there. I kind of lean toward Engebretsen's book because he has extensive notes or extensive bibliography, and I think
would it be in the records of Fort Robinson and that he was captured?
I would think maybe, but I'm not sure where you would find those records. I don't know who has them. It could be the federal government has them. It could be Nebraska has them. I'm not sure where you would even go looking for it. But I would assume that was noted if he was arrested at Fort Rob.
Some sort of record was kept,
Yeah. So about a week before his arrest, Johnny had stolen some horses from W.M. Ward in the Custer vicinity and had taken them to Fort Robinson, where they were gobbled for stealing a government bridle. I don't know what the heck that means. I tried figuring it out. Because to me, gobbling means eaten, and I don't think that the horses he stole were eaten.
Or gobbled. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I wanted to quote that in there in case someone else knows and we could ever clear it up in the future.
So say that sentence again. He gobbled. I don't know where you're reading.
Yeah, I'll read the whole thing again. About a week before his arrest, he had stolen some horses from W.M. Ward in the Custer vicinity and had taken them to Fort Robinson, where they were gobbled for stealing a government bridle.
Oh, so they were stool pigeoned. Isn't that what that means? They were ratted out.
Okay.
Because gobbled like a turkey. That's what I would think.
Okay.
Like they were ratted out for stealing. That's how
that makes sense then. Okay. I just couldn't figure it out while I was writing, and
I don't know that for sure, but off the way that sentence reads, it sounds like they were ratted out. What we would call ratted out.
Okay.
They were gobbled.
Okay. So Ward telegraphed military officials at Fort Robinson to hold them, and upon the arrival of Smith, Lame Johnny was turned over to him. So they not only ratted him out for stealing the horses, then they held him till Smith could get there to take him into custody. And at the time, Fort Rob certainly had a jail.
Even if they did, as we've seen from the past, they make pretty good ones.
Yeah.
Or I should say from the future.
It was decided to take Lame Johnny to Rapid City for trial. John B. Furey, special agent for the Post Office Department, described the scene before they departed. Johnny, it seems, had a good keen scent of danger, and so in quitting Camp Robinson, he took time by the forelock and bade his companions a long and, as he predicted, a last farewell. He evidently felt a sort of premonition, as it were, that something would interfere with his longevity. Now, I read some other accounts about some other people around this time as well, and when they heard he was being taken for trial, they were all like, oh, this isn't going to end well. And they had a feeling something bad was going to happen. I just didn't include them because we're already at 2 parts with the story. So by car in 2026, Fort Robinson is 166 miles or 2 hours, 36 minutes from Deadwood, which was the ultimate destination that they were taking him to. They were going to stop in Rapid City, and then the trial was going to be, he was going to be arraigned in Rapid City, and the trial was going to be in Deadwood. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm figuring that far out. In 1878, he would have been transported along the Sydney-Deadwood Trail via stagecoach, and for comparison, Google Maps lets me calculate the distance by bicycle, and to me, bicycle is as close to stagecoach stage, and that would take 14 hours, 14 minutes. So he's got a 14-hour ride ahead of him.
Since much faster on a bike. By bike I mean motorcycle.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking bicycle.
I know, I did that on 90 miles going to Sturgis, which is a little bit before Deadwood.
Yeah.
From Rapid, going down 90. Oh, it's so much fun. Much, much faster than walking or a horse.
Yeah. Since this was such a massive robbery, every precaution was made to be sure Johnny could not escape. So, quote, no chances were taken with the outlaw's transport, and he was shackled, handcuffed, and his leg iron shackles were riveted to a metal plate attached to the bottom of the stagecoach. Notorious sharpshooters Daniel Boone, and May and Frank Smith guarded the stagecoach, and horseback escort Jesse Brown rode behind the party. So Jesse Brown is a law enforcement dude. I believe he was not just like deputy sheriff. I think he was the deputy.
Sure.
So everything starts off according to plan. There's no way Johnny's going to be able to escape. And on July 1st, 1879, the group travels to about 8 miles north of Buffalo Gap. And I'm going to stick with Google's bicycle route here because the stagecoach is maybe same speed. Same speed.
More or less.
And Engebretsen's book provided more details about that, and we're going to tell you what happened in next week's episode. So you got to come back to learn more. So I'm a terrible person to you, but it's good storytelling. So if you come back next time, we're going to find out what happened to Johnny on his way to court. What do you think so far, Connor?
It has a lot of Billy the Kid kind of tropes. I've realized.
Yeah,
it really has. It really does sound a lot of Billy the Kid kind of stuff. A lot of the weird things that happened. Maybe not as fun as far as like starting a whole cattle war, but
yeah.
It's still as fun as the robber side of Billy the Kid. This is what it sounds like to me.
They could totally make a story with the information that's out there. Make a little movie about it. And be a fun little movie. I'm not going to spoil you with what happens at the end of the next part.
We're lucky enough to get yet another rendition of the Odyssey, courtesy of Matt Damon. Ugh.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I want to see this one.
I don't. I have no interest whatsoever.
Yeah.
Not to go completely off topic, but Matt Damon's always trying to find homes. So what's new? It's like, what's
That's
new?
right. Yeah.
What's new, Matt Damon?
Yeah.
What's new? You're the worst person for Ulysses. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Anybody, and you picked him, not interested.
Yeah.
Just not.
It's not something I think I would spend my money on to go see, which is sad because the Odyssey is an awesome story.
It is actually, as far as Greek mythology goes, it's not my favorite. My favorite actually is one they've made before, but they could have remade a lot better, which is Theseus and the Minotaur and King Minos. And I think that story would have been very, very interesting. You could have gotten like Daedalus and Icarus in there and really had some good stories, but no.
No, we're just going to make a 15th remake,
yeah,
you know?
And it's always going to be the same story because you can't tell it any other way.
Yep.
But, yeah.
And just since we're talking about this, I'm going to stick this little thing in here. I used to work at Dick's Sporting Goods, and I sold a 300-pound weight set to Armand Asante when he was getting prepared to be in the remake of the Odyssey.
Oh, nice.
And it would just happenstance. He lived not far from the Dick's that I worked at, and he came in, bought a 300-pound weight set, and we had a crazy lady that worked in footwear, and all the footwear employees were trying to keep her away from Armand Asante because she had some kind of weird crush on him.
Was that like 2000, the 90s version?
90. No, was it 98 or 99?
The 90s version.
Yeah, late 90s.
I think that's the one I think I watched in school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's my brush with fame, folks. And I didn't care. I knew it was him, and he was just like, I want to get this set, and okay. So we got it for him and took it out to the car, and it was more entertaining watching my coworkers keeping this crazy woman away from him.
But you're right. Like this story about Lame Johnny would be it'd be kind of a fun story to tell. It'd be interesting. It'd be a little different. As long as you part of the problem with modern history and our position in history in the world right now is what side do you tell it from and who ends up being the bad guys. One of our examples, of course, was the Lakota stealing all the horses. if you showed that in too much access, I think nowadays
Then-
that wouldn't be received very well. So you'd have to tell the story.
You would
right.
have to tell that
you
properly.
You have to make this person, again, already sounds too much like Billy the Kid. Like you should already have Emilio Estevez like, playing this role like as this kind of childish, not childish, smart, not smart kind of kid like character who's just handsome and gets away with all this bullshit. Because you already said he got caught by the forces, so if he gets out, then Billy the Kid right there.
Yeah,
just calling it.
And if you want to find out what happens to him, please don't go do Google searches. Come back next
Google
week.
It.
And,
Not yet.
And
Google debunk us afterward. You can totally Google debunk us.
and I don't think you can debunk us because I'm pretty good at citing my sources. So there.
There.
So that's all we have for this week. Come back next week, and I will tell you the rest of the story of Lame Johnny and his life, and he should have stuck with Cornelius.
Yes.
Yes.
I definitely agree with that. Cornelius Donahue.
Yeah.
Way better than Matt Damon, I'm just saying.
All right. For now, I'm Irene.
And I'm Connor.
And this is Storytelling on the Plains.